What is up, Paragon community? I am KL Smith. Welcome to our Paragon Dev live stream. Today we have a Richter launch stream. We're going to talk all about the new hero coming next week. I'm joined, as always, by my main man, Mooney.
Main man.
We have Herman
Hello,
and
guys.
Cameron next to us.
Hi,
Cameron
guys.
is our lead hero designer, and Herman, if you guys remember during the Iggy stream, is one of our concept artists. So, how you guys doing?
I'm doing well, thanks.
You guys excited for Richter?
I mean, definitely. Super excited. It's awesome. It's always great to get a new hero out there.
It is. I can't wait.
You ready to get hooked on Richter?
Oh!
I knew you were going to do that.
Oh, so good.
No, nobody.
I hope Wes sees that, too.
I hope he does.
He's going to talk
That was
to
for
you.
you, Wes.
We're going to run through, kind of our normal stream. We're going to talk a little bit with Herman and Cameron about the gameplay, design, art of the hero. We also have Ray Arnett, who is senior animator, and we have our lead effects artist, Tim Ellick, here. They're going to be on to talk about animation and effects. And then our community guests, we have Mud, a.k.a. Kirsten, and Giant Chiproll, a.k.a. Mark, in the building. So they will be on at the very end. They're going to be streaming a gameplay of Richter with our Comp QA team. It's going to be a little bit different this time. We're actually going to have them on Mumble, basically talking with them. So you're going to get to hear some Comp QA chatter as they play in today's show. So that should be interesting. Can't wait for that one. So we're looking forward to it. So getting into some community stuff, we have a couple of things. First off, congratulations to Sevicus. I'm sorry. You guys remember our anime?
Savicus.
I murk names.
Savicus.
Mooney's worse than me.
Whoa.
I'm going to say
Let's
Sevicus.
not. Okay, I'm going to say Savicus.
Sevicus.
There's an AE. Savicus.
I'm going to say Sevicus.
Okay, that's fine.
All right. We're going with mine.
All right, that's fine.
All right, so Sevicus. If Mooney said it right, it's fine. You can go with Mooney. Congratulations. You was the winner for the hero race for Grimm. It was actually very close. This is the first time this happened where they literally were neck and neck, and Sevicus.
That's fine.
He actually ended his match, got his master skin, and then Def, who was second, finished his game immediately right thereafter.
Oh, yes.
So it was a crazy finish.
That's actually.
The first time that it's happened. The hero race information for Richter should be live right now. Third place was Vadim.
Yeah,
I'm going to let you name this. What do you think?
Vadim.
Vadim, 1993.
Yeah, I respect
Same
that.
year as you.
Same year I was born. Thank you.
All right.
That's as old as you.
Stop.
So with this hero race for Richter, we're changing it up a little bit. If you guys remember, we did a community reward for this one where if 10 people finished the reward, which we extended, we were at 9, but if 10 people got the reward, we gave a big community reward. This time, we're changing it up so that each person that finishes contributes to the overall reward, and there's no cap. So, in this case, if one person finishes the hero race, there's going to be rep unlocked for the entire community, 2,000 rep unlocked for the entire community, and that's per person that finishes. So if we get 10 people that finish, it's 20,000 rep unlocked for the entire community, but there's no cap. So if 20 people finish in a week, it'll be 40,000 reps. So we thought this would be a nice change, just to no matter who finished, everyone is going to get rewarded. So you guys can continue to cheer those folks on. We actually have a leaderboard for this one, so the updates will be automatic. You guys can just go there and see the top 100 players that are helping you guys out with
achieve that goal.
That goal. So we'll continue to iterate on the hero race. We're really excited about it, and I hope you guys enjoy it as well. Have any of you guys come close yet?
I tried, but
you tried.
I tried. No, I'm actually gonna try for Richter.
No, I'm gonna try for Richter.
No, that's funny. It's funny that you say that because I'm actually gonna try for Richter.
Have either of you tried?
So most of my games don't count, as you well know. So no, I'm not even close, unfortunately. All my Richter games
Are internal?
Yeah, they're mostly internal, and they don't count.
Herman?
I tried Richter. I mean, he's pretty hard character for me to play. I like to play really fast character, but he's so strong. I have very tough time dealing with him. But definitely, I'm not the right person to try.
Okay. All right. Well, We'll see. I'm gonna actually give it a good try when Richter is released to see how far I can get. So I'm looking forward to that. I hope you guys are excited about the changes. I want to give a shout out to Agora Rising. They have a tournament this weekend. We watched the previous one. We basically watched them all.
Yeah.
If you guys know, Giant Triple was formerly a part of Triangle Formation. They were the very first winners of Agora Rising. So we might talk a little bit about that. Just ask them about high level tournament play. So shout out to those guys. You guys are doing some great stuff for the community, and we really enjoy watching it.
Yep, definitely.
And then next up, we want to talk about Richter. So new build 26.1 coming is going to include the release of Richter. Before we even get started with talking about the hero, we wanted to show you guys the announce video, which
Yes.
time and time again,
This is such
the video team comes through with
In the
some
clutch.
amazing
Yes.
trailers.
Just when you don't think it can get better,
Yeah.
it gets better somehow.
Yeah. So the announced trailer, we wanted to show you guys that, and then we're gonna start talking about Richter.
Yes.
Super
Awesome.
cool, right?
Yeah.
Awesome, right? So, Cameron,
Yes, that's me.
tell us about some of the design goals for Richter and what people can kind of expect when they hop in on May 31st for the hero.
So the design goals be super. So the design goals were we wanted to make a hero that was really cool at utilizing sort of the Z-axis we have here in Paragon. Wanted to make a hero that was kind of like a little bit of a tough support kind of guy. So the inspiration for this hero is a lot of heroes are good at controlling people that are far away, and we wanted a hero that would control heroes a little bit differently. So the way Richter works obviously is he displaces you from where you are and isolates you and brings you kind of to where he is, which is almost always going to be bad for you. So we're expecting Richter to kind of be, he's like a good fight initiator. He can, if there's like a little bit of a standoff and you're not really sure or how to actually go on the right target, a good Richter player is going to be able to isolate those targets, pull them out of their safety group and put them into bad positions. Because, MOBAs are all about, being out of position.
Right,
And that's something that Richter excels at. So he kind of, anytime you have a hero like this in a MOBA, it's going to alter your gameplay. It's going to really make things like vision wards and, watching behind your back very important. And Richter also is first character that we're going to be introducing our silence mechanic for, which is something we're really excited about, which is a new way of sort of applying control. You guys are going to love, I don't want to spoil it for you, but the first time you actually silence or get silenced by Richter, it's a pretty cool experience. So the VFX and sound guys did an amazing job just sort of selling that feeling to it. So it's going to make it so that you can't use abilities for like a couple seconds when he punches you.
Okay.
With his big metal fist.
So was there a reason for you guys to include it specifically with Richter? Was it like part of the like, man, this kit really would synergize if he had a silence?
So a lot of the kit stuff, like it'll start off with like, okay, like what's the thing that makes this hero really cool? Because like a lot of times, heroes are very much like they're about this one thing. You're like, okay, well, Richter's main thing is he's got these chains. He's gonna pull people in.
Yep.
It's like, and that's kind of like what he does. Then you start playing the hero, and you're like, okay, well, we give him this like one ability. It's like, well, how does that work with the kit? It's like, well, he's missing something. It's like, well, let's try this, let's try that. And a lot of times, these kind of things just sort of happen. And we had this really cool, like, punch ability, and it looked awesome, and we weren't happy with this like weeks ago, right? We weren't happy with it. We're like, well, what could we put in this? And then we're like, oh, how it would be super cool, because we know we wanted to get a silencing game. What if this is the guy that silences people? And then we hooked it up, and we played it. We're like, yeah, this is what we want. So, the kits sort of like, I would say they come out like 75% done on paper, and then you play it, and then you go, ooh, that really worked, that didn't work, and then you play it some more. And we have our great internal competitive QA team, and we have a great design team. Dave Ewing was the guy who actually worked
Shout
on
out
this.
Dave Ewing.
Shout out Dave Ewing, thank you. We have great artists, great effects people. So like as the kit starts to come together, and we start to play it, we start to actually see the implementation of all the people who actually come together to make a hero happen. You start to get inspired by certain things, and you also just say, oh hey, we decided that maybe literally silence on everything was too much, or whatever, like whatever bad idea you had on paper, and then you get rid of that, you move on to the good idea, and it starts to kind of chisel down, and that's where we come to that.
Okay. How do you kind of see people once they have the opportunity to play with him? How do you see people kind of utilizing the hero right off the bat? Be it builds or just kind of team comps.
So I'm always reticent to answer these kind of questions, because like I don't want the community to be like, oh, the designers say it needs to be played this way. So the caveat, guys, is this is just some dude's opinion. Like, just because we made it, like, doesn't mean that like I fully expect any game that we've ever worked on, community's going to really own this and show us how this hero is going to be played. That being said, some places to start, if you will. He's definitely someone who can be played in the jungle. He gets a little bit of damage with electrocute kind of for free. I mean, it comes in the ability more than the cards. So you can do like kind of like an electrocute
with the AoE.
That's his electrocute ability that you saw in the video. He can kind of do some jungle work there. Having a hook guy in the jungle is also super cool, because you never know where he's going to pop up and hook some guy out of position.
Terrifying to me.
It's scary, right?
Yeah.
So that's definitely good. He's also probably an excellent lane support, because if he's in lane there, like we just saw in the video, it's just, if that happens to you when you're laning, you're probably going to die. So that's something that because he doesn't necessarily need to actually like excel in the lane by killing you. He just needs to be a threat.
Right.
And the fact that he's there will actually change how you play, and it's going to make it harder for you to get your safe farm. It's going to make it harder for you to be in the correct positions.
Right.
And then finally, there's a world where I see him as like a solo offlaner kind of guy, and he just sort of sits there and he's fat, and like, what can you do about it? It's like he's this big guy, and he's just like powerful and tough, and he's in your face, and when he gets a level advantage on you and you get pulled, you're also going to die. So
as soon as
shows
you
up
hit
to a fight,
as soon as you hit 5 and you unlock that ultimate, I feel like it's like super scary when you're in lane, because it's like, is he going to pull me under tower?
Yeah.
Is he going to pull me into 3 other guys? That's not fun.
When you get his ultimate at 5, you have to be ready to do work. I mean, you can't like just show up. You have to be ready to do work. That ultimate does work, and you have to be be helpful with that. So I definitely think there's a lot of opportunity for really inventive kind of plays. Me personally, I like playing him like a tank, because I just love just being this big guy in the way. Like I like getting in front of like my carries, the enemy carries, and just being fat and absorbing all those shots, and it makes me feel powerful. And then you pull the right guy. When you land those hooks, man, it feels super gratifying. So this is definitely going to be a higher skill cap character. We expect we're going to see some amazing videos out of this. Some great players are going to do some great things.
Cannot wait for the highlight reels.
Yeah, it's going to be
great.
They're going to be amazing. But then it's also going to be some players are going to be like, well, it's kind of hard to hit with, but that's hook characters, right?
Yep. All right. So Herman, from the art side of things for you, was this one where design really had a lot of inspiration into how you've kind of...
It's definitely, because at the very beginning, Richter is kind of different from now on, and because the design is evolving, the art is evolving, eventually we send the concept outside, and then we get some feedback from them. And Chris is not really happy. Chris Perna is our art director. He's not really happy, but he's happy with some element we capture, and based on feedback from design, and eventually we evolve into the current Richter right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shelly, can we show one of the very first concept pieces?
Nice.
So or after we get the outsourced stuff from back, and Chris is not happy about the look of it, so Richter is hand to me, and then I start to, based on some element Chris our art director and start reconstructing it, and then creating some thumbnails from that, and that's early thumbnails of Richter. And the point we want to hit is like he's a gigantic, huge, pretty much follow the design, and we intimidating. So we kind of want him as like Chris want him as like a prisoner guard. He's like he's a prisoner before he done something wrong, but because that prison is full of really top criminals. So eventually, he kind of have some religion and change himself into like a more like good guy, but he still have the brutal appearance. So he transformed back into like a god inside that prison and gradually become high ranking. So the idea is behind him, he has chains. That's the main function of him, and because he's the god, so he need a chain to hook up hires the most terrible criminals. So that's how he start. Like the idea start be solidified and become more clear at that point. So after this thumbnail, we reach to more. Chris found out something he's really like, which I believe should be the guy with chains all around his body, on his shoulders, and the chains because we want him have a very strong visual impact for the audience or your enemies. So we have the chain on the shoulder, and they will keep rotating, just like the gameplay video.
Yeah, we saw that in the video. That was awesome.
Yeah, and that would create a lot intimidating kind of effect. You feel like some guy with like a chains all happening and approaching you, kind of dangerous.
At any time, that chain could just snatch you out.
Yes, exactly. So like this thumbnail, we kind of have the idea we like, and then we kind of mix and match and see which one is our favorite one. So yeah, that's the last three concept we have, and eventually I believe we pick the middle one.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, one of the things, at least from the initial concept that you showed, he was a lot thinner. And then it looked like there was let me make him a little heavier set, and then it seemed like that kind of inspired, okay, well maybe this is much more like a tank support style. So it seems like the silhouette really magnified, like, okay, this is the role for this type of hero design. That's really cool.
He's getting stronger and bigger because Chris really liked those characters. It's kind of like epic style. Epic one, like gigantic, huge guy. And that's gradually evolving into that. Before it's a bit lean, but gradually we add more fat on him and add more muscle, and give him a little bit belly, so that he gradually evolve.
Did you always picture when you were kind of concepting this the chains inside of his belly?
We actually I actually made a mistake. I put the belly shoot out from a little bit bottom, a lower side, which is to get people confused, like what the hell are you shooting out from? And so I made a mistake, and the team gave me a lot of good feedback, and gradually moving up the chain up, and gradually put it in the belly area.
Okay.
So yeah, that's how they fight.
That's a good origin story.
It is.
Mistakes were made.
Can we see some of the next concept art?
Yeah, and that's the next step. After we find the right body for him, and we move on to the faces. That's why I do a lot of iteration, try to get the right face for him, because he's such a unique character. He's a prisoner before, but he become a god.
Kind of like that hardened face, like over time. Right?
Yes, but he's not the bad guy.
Right.
So that's why we play around some face. Obviously, some face ID is too much like a bad guy. So eventually, we'll move on doing a lot of iterations. You can tell I try different styles. Some even steampunk a little bit, some sci-fi a little bit, and some really like a beast. But eventually, I think at the end we picked. Keep going down. Sometimes I wish that I had to pick the first one, so save a lot of time. But yeah, the one on the left, this one is what Chris liked. Obviously, Chris still wants some iteration on him, make him have a little bit more cleaner look. So yeah, but that face is what we want.
Yeah, I think that was part of the most interesting thing when we did the teaser image. That shot of his face was super. A lot of people they took that and ran with how they thought he was going to be, and a lot of people hit the mark pretty well. With how they thought
there
he
was a lot of speculation before we actually made the announce. So I mean, the art really sold what art was available. Really sold what type of hero people kind of
the feel
were guessing
and
so it's really cool. what do we have?
And
Okay.
next one is pretty much finalize him, and you can see the top part is the face we peg. We put a number on his head because Chris want him like he's a prisoner before. He's one of the worst prisoners, so he still have that number on his face. So that's the reason I have that number there. And also his body is gradually, you can see we still play around small thing around his body, and we actually make him stronger and have the belly even more popping up. So yep, that's like the final iteration of the idea. And you can see we move to the, I think the third one from left is the one we all happy about it. And yeah, you can see the one on the right is really go too crazy. So we come back a little bit. So the middle one in the screen is what we pick as the last pieces.
That's really, really cool.
And after that, based on this concept, we developed the front view, back view, and he has a very complicated arm and mechanics on his shoulder, like the chain rotating.
Yep.
So we need to make a breakdown sketches to show the art, like a modeler, and show the animation team how it works. It's huge effort from modeler and an animation team Richter to put out because it's just amazing. It's just so much detail on him, and VFX team doing amazing job to put it out too. So it requires so much effort. At the beginning, we have a lot of question about this guy, how we put it out, because he's had that rotating chain and then he's part of his body actually mechanical, part is cyborg. So it's very hard to make it the conjunction. I mean the connection between muscle and mechanics actually works. So we work so hard to get it right. So cool. So yeah, that's the model sheet. And after that, which is for me personally, is fun part based on design, based on the kit. Obviously, the kit is changing.
Yep.
Yeah.
But at that time, we based on design, we sketch out some kind of motion of the character, how it works, how he hook up people. You can see still some of those kind of abilities still maintained, but a lot of them is changing right now. But at that time, we try to figure out how his chain work, how his relationship between his chain and himself, and how the mechanics works. And at that time, he still can kill a minion and suck up all their HP and become his own HP at that time. Obviously, at that time, we make him so OP, which just doesn't, a lot of things doesn't work.
Change
so
around his
we
kit.
make it simpler and more workable. And right now, everything makes sense. Before, it was too OP. But yeah. And after this stage, we reach to color, which is we try to play around his color. He's like one of tricky guy. We don't want to make his skin too much like skin, but want to make him like a cyborg. And all his mechanical parts not too sci-fi because you work in jail. I mean, you work in prison. You cannot be a super clean sci-fi look characters. So we kind of using more rusty color and rusty kind of material and try to separate his body because he has so many details on his bodies.
First time I saw this, like that was the first time I saw that, like this art. It was that like locked in the idea of like what I thought the character would be. Like it made sense to me.
Yeah, that's the whole purpose. So after the color variation, we kind of find the right palette, and that's the final concept of him. And Chris are happy about it, and we sell the idea to the art team. And design team also like it, so eventually we stay with that.
It's pretty awesome. And what did design, Cameron, when you first saw it? What was your like initial? Once it was all like, hey, everything is done. This is some of the things, the initial ideas, and then when it got to the point where it was like, hey, wait, this is in the game. What was like some of your immediate impressions?
Well, I mean, one of the nicest things about not being an artist at Epic Games is that you get to work with artists at Epic Games. So like, it is literally always better than you could possibly imagine. Because a lot of times, especially for my role, I live in a sort of like paper conceptual world, and it's like, and when I'm working with the designers to try to get these ideas, fleshed out and stuff like that, a lot of it is like, pitch me what this guy does, let's go through some scenarios, and I'm more talking about stuff like, okay, what happens when this hero finds a guy in the forest? What happens when he's in lane? What happens when he's taking a tower? Like, we work through all these scenarios, and it's like, okay, and then when I give this to the balancing people, are they going to punch me in the face? Stuff like that. So I'm kind of like the guy that's doing all that. So when I actually get to see stuff like this in game, first off, there's two elements. There's the wow, I can't believe how lucky I am that I get to work with artists that can produce this.
Right.
That's the first thing you think, and the second thing you think is, oh wow, this is happening. It's like it's just like because a lot of times in design you're like we have things planned out for so long that you're like, oh, we're going to get to this one day. We're going to get to this one day. And then you actually see, oh, that thing that we said we were going to do like 4 months ago. Like
it's
there,
That's a thing.
It's turning into a thing. And because, the first version of them is he's like this little like gray thing and it's like he's blobby and you're not really sure what it looks like. And then it's like he's got like 4 little texture lines. You're like, oh, that's cute. And then it's like, and then when, you go off and do something else and you come back 3 weeks later and it's this fully rendered, super, bad looking guy who's going to, wreck you. And you're like, oh man, it looks amazing. So, it's pretty overwhelming sometimes, and you get to see that. So I just think it's awesome. But I mean, I like video games, so
Sweet.
Sweet.
I like video games.
Yeah.
Cam Winston.
Yeah, you can quote me on that.
All right, well, we're going to get up Ray and Tim. I appreciate you guys talking about the art and design.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it. Hope you guys
Always a
enjoyed that.
pleasure.
So let's go ahead and switch off and get these guys
Thank you
up.
guys.
Yes.
Have a great day.
All right, we're back. We have Tim Ellick, our lead effects artist, and Ray Arnett, senior animator. How you guys doing?
Doing great.
Doing well, thanks.
Herman dropped some knowledge.
Yes. He
So
gives us a really great format.
yeah, it's awesome. So for you guys, first off, I got to tell this story because it's really really cool. We told you right when you got in. Tim sent us video of what we're going to use today and show you guys. And I don't want to spoil it yet until we get there, but there was a video that I saw. When I saw it for the first time, I like got up out of my chair and I'm like, oh my god, this is so sick. And like everybody's like, what is he looking
Naturally,
at?
we
You
all
know,
have
they're,
to
like,
walk
kinda
over and
getting
see
up.
what he's looking at.
And so I come around and show them, and it was one of the effects for Richter that I didn't actually realize was a thing. So I'm gonna let Tim
We'll
talk
get there.
about it. We're gonna get there,
But,
but I had to get you guys a little hype.
Yeah,
before
build
we
the
get started.
anticipation.
So,
Build the anticipation.
Herman talked a lot about how the chains and everything kind of moved together, and part of building like this cyborg was a challenge both technically and on an artistic standpoint. What were some of your guys' goals after you guys saw where the concept was going to kind of bring together the animation and effects? Can you guys kind of talk about that story? Because I know you guys wanted to kind of tell how it went.
Yeah, sure. I think we always want to do whatever we can to like reinforce and support the design. So like early on, when the model is pretty close to being, when the model's pretty fleshed out and the concept's been chosen, we usually have a meeting with the designer, the effects artist, the animator, the animation programmer, just everyone in the room
Technical
to talk
art.
about, right, tech art's in there for sure, and technical animation. So we all get in the room to talk about who is this guy, what attitude should he have, more or less, what's kind of a general backstory that he has, what are his abilities, what's
Right.
his role in the game.
Right.
And so everything that we can do from that point forward to sort of support those pillars visually, or whatever we can do to make the gameplay clear, or the best we can do, that's really the goal for us, I think.
I think we also like evaluate what our current tool set is, like what systems we have and what new features we might need. What kind of things could go into the engine that might not only benefit our game but benefit the people outside of
Right.
Epic that use the engine. So it's Paragon is a lot of times a test bed for new engine features that are going out. So like with Richter, we want to do these big chains and we wanted to have physics and animation driving a lot of that.
Right.
I think early on we had decided against trying to just do like two-dimensional effects representations to go like full 3D chains to try to get like the most bang for the buck.
Right.
And honestly, it was a little bit scary for all of us because it's like not something we had done before, and there's some technical challenges there and a bunch of hurdles we had to jump through.
Yeah. Do you guys feel like with each hero, and this is the first time we both had animation and effects up
Yeah,
at once, is this a thing where each hero is like presenting new ways that we're approaching how we think about the game and how we think about, okay, what is technically possible.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
Pushing the limitations.
Yeah, definitely so.
And that's part of being at Epic is you always want to be pushing forward, and
Right.
we always, if you're ever getting too comfortable, then you know maybe you should be uncomfortable.
Right.
If the water's shallow enough for you to stand in, then maybe you need to swim out a little further.
Right.
I think is the way I try to approach things.
And I think the things that in the past were a non-starter, as soon as a designer said, well, we need to do this, it's like, no, you ain't doing that. Or we ain't doing that in their schedule. Or now it's like, okay, yeah, that's sort of similar to what we did on Richter or some hero in the past. It's like, I think we can build on that and do something interesting.
Right.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's just going to keep getting more
Yep.
interesting and complicated for us, but in a good way.
With a sneaky smile.
Yeah. what were some of like the major design goals for you guys trying to work together that kind of led to the direction that you took?
Well,
From like an
at least for
ability standpoint.
effects, everything's founded on the performance that Ray created with the animation. Like, so I'll probably let you speak.
I
to
think
that more.
I think that's true. I think that's true for every sort of step in the process. Like when I first get the concept and the model isn't finished yet, as soon as we look at the concept, most of the time, almost every time, the concept artist has done like a really interesting pose. There's stuff there to look at and to kind of mine from as an animator, because
Right.
really the basis for everything, as soon as we start on a character, is to try to come up with a pose that kind of encapsulates this guy's attitude and how we want people to view him or to react to him. So Herman's final concept that Shelly showed him a moment ago, as soon as I saw it, I was like, yeah, this guy's different, like, because his proportions and he's a big metal dude. It's not that different than steel, but as soon as you see his, like, the way he's standing and
The
he's holding these
attitude.
Yeah.
chains,
Yeah.
it's a totally
Yeah.
different
Right.
sort of thing. So I really fed off that big time. And then when we get so one of the after we sort of settle on a pose and on a sort of a general attitude for the guy, we normally do a mocap session, a motion capture session. We'll have actors come in. We'll kind of give them a rough backstory. We'll play the prototype character, which, like Cameron alluded to, we usually have like a gray blobby little
Yep.
dude in as a prototype at
Yep.
first. So we'll play the game for them, show them these are the abilities that he has, and then we'll just say, hey, like, get in this character, walk around the mocap stage for a few minutes, like, fill this out, and see what that we can get from them too, you know, like, so we try to lean as hard on everyone as we can. Like, we're surrounded by professional people, and we want to, like, make sure that we don't try to just take all this on ourselves and,
Right.
like, just tell them, like, it's going to be like this and this. It's like, you're an actor, like, how would you play this, like,
Right.
you know, insane alien prison guard guy?
Right.
Yeah, so then we do a motion capture session for a couple days. We get that data back and just start looking through it, and then we'll normally try to get temporary assets off to, like, we'll show, like, the designer, like Dave Ewing, the designer that was on Richter. We'll show him some of the early motion and say, hey man, what do you think about this? Does this feel like sort of the attitude you were thinking? We'll show it to the effects artists and just the other people around the studio and say, hey, is this in line with what you guys are thinking? And, you know, sometimes it's yes and sometimes it's no, and if it's no, we kind of go back to the
Go
drawing
back to the
board a
drawing
little
board.
bit.
Yep. That's cool.
And yeah, we just sort of build and iterate. And as Tim's stuff starts going in, it's like, oh man, I think if I change the animal a little bit, we can make this cooler. And then we'll just start working, you know, back and
Yeah.
forth.
Right.
And
So
it can be a really organic process. Like, I think it was Twin Blast we worked on together too. Like, we had that leap. He has that leap.
Leap?
And
Mhm.
for the longest time, we're like, how are we actually gonna like convey this? And then we're like, well, let's get his arms to open up, and then we put some jets coming out
Yeah,
of
it's
there.
like-
And it's like sometimes like we don't have like the best laid plans, but then we'll just in working together, working with the designer, working with the modeler, working with Ray, like just come up with some cool things, and happy accidents happen.
Yeah,
Right.
nice.
Sometimes the best laid plans wind up to be the most unfun
Yeah.
thing, or something that just doesn't look good, and we wind up throwing a lot of things away.
Right.
But because there's like a back and forth, you guys just happen upon something that ends up
Yeah.
being the best thing for the character.
hmm
uh,
And even like in Herman's concept, he put a little like red plasma electric looking spline on the end of it.
Yeah.
But that was just the launching point for all the electricity.
I was just gonna say,
Yeah.
like, how did we come to the electricity kind of being a part of that kit? Because when I remember the prototype version, and I could picture the chain, but I couldn't picture the electricity. So
Yeah, like, that was
I'm really
something that when
fascinated by how we got to that.
Yeah, when I saw like the finished like animations and effects and stuff, I was just looking at that. It was wow, like all of that completely just. But it made sense to me. I was like, I can totally see why they went this direction.
I think it was primarily like Ray and Dave Ewing and I all kind of like met at a desk and we were like, we need to show this state transition between like his left mouse and his right mouse, and you know, one of them is different than the other, but you know, how could we do that with effects? And I was like, well, let's, you know, we have this electricity thing in the concept. What if I integrate that into only one of the melee abilities, and then we'll have different effects and we'll have a different melee trail.
Right.
So we started thinking about it, and I looked at Herman's concept and immediately just went with electricity.
Okay.
I mean, the guy looks like he's got a ton of metal on him, so he'd
Right.
be a really good conductor. So yeah, we just kind of started there, and then it just kept growing out and out, and just wound up becoming like a really crucial part of his kit. And then when we got rid of the like minions sucking in and him chewing up the minions to gain health, electricity just became like, well, he can whip the ground and then electrify himself,
Right.
which yeah, it just kind of naturally grew out of it.
Yeah, that's really cool. Shelly, can we show some of the electric? Yeah.
Oh yeah, so I was just thought it'd be interesting to show a little bit of like when we're developing this guy, like this is kind of the process. Like Chris Evans, who's our rigger, had a pretty big technical challenge of figuring out how to get these big long chains all to hide correctly with like when he would swing out or when he would swing
Right.
his arms or when we would activate the different electricity, and we wanted the electricity to be part of the rig, so like all those electrical elements are all rigged with his mesh. And this is one of the first times where we were doing like material controls through the rigging as well. So he's hiding and showing the chain as well as the electricity through the rig. I think Ray had set up some curves in the animation as well to help with that. And then this is just showing like, now that we have this skeletal mesh, I can actually attach effects to the skeletal mesh, and I can give them the ability to inherit the velocity and some of the other attributes of Ray's animation. So all the effects can really key off the animation.
Right.
Maybe if you show the particle system first.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. So like this is what the particle system looks like without Ray's animation. It's just, it sits in a single point. I can tell it, grab all these joints along the length of this chain and then spawn these elements
Right.
from the different positions. And you can see like, just trying to show all the different elements that go into making one of the effects. But it's pretty cool, but without all of the animation and all of the extra work that the rigger and the animator have done, like Chris and Ray, it's just, there's not a whole lot I can use to sell. So then his performance this all gets layered on top of that,
Right.
which really brings everything to life.
That's really cool. And then can we show Ray's just the points for the ultimate? It is not that. It's the other one that hit.
Yeah, you can just show the first anim video.
That one. Yeah.
Okay, so this is from Chris, the rigger. So Chris basically is the guy that builds the puppet that we get to play with. So this is just showing how the belly chains are going to come out and slide along a path that I can make. I can make in the animation software. So yeah, so when things break or something's messed up in the game, Chris gets a call in the middle of the night,
Yes.
and everybody's yelling at him. But I just get to play with all the toys that he makes. So it's
Nice.
he's kind of our stunt man a little bit. Like
Yeah.
he takes a lot of heat, but he doesn't get the spotlight very
He
often.
worked really hard on
Chris, the
this
true
one.
MVP.
And then we can
Yeah.
show the effects on the alt. That's the that one there. Yeah.
Yeah, so his belly chains are a separate attachment. They're a separate skeletal mesh that gets attached to his skeleton. So like when he goes to do the ability, opens up and then another skeletal mesh is attached there and then plays. And you can see here, like there's that effect that was just a little blob of particles unreadable.
And then that's
but
when it comes together and looks
Yeah.
for the ability.
It's
Man,
attached
that's
onto the
amazing.
chains.
And this
Yeah.
was literally, I had one of those moments where I had this thing in my head of what this was going to look like, and once the animation went in, I just plopped the particles there, and it just was like boom, and it was almost too good to be true right out of the gate. It was like, wow, I can't believe it. Like it was like when the plan comes together kind of moment.
Right.
And that's really fulfilling. And I think our technical animator Laurent also worked really hard on this guy. There was a lot of like
Yeah.
technical issues we had with like we shoot a projectile and this chain has to reach out and to the projectile's position and organically move to different locations in the world because you can aim up, you can aim down, like
Right.
so there was a lot of technical challenges with him beyond just like how mechanically complex he is because like Ray had a ton of work to do with spinning all of the
Oh
chains.
yeah, the chains spinning and stuff. We saw that
Yeah,
in
it
like the
was
announced
awesome.
trailer.
On the shoulders and
Yeah,
different places.
it definitely adds to like the feel.
So one of the things I wanted to show, I talked about it right as you guys got on,
Yes.
is there's a video that Tim sent where the electricity is essentially boiling the water.
Yeah, so when he does his E and whips the ground around him, we do a check to determine what type of material he's standing in or standing on top of, and then we can spawn different effects based on that.
It's so subtle,
It's-
and you
so-
can see it in the actual announce trailer, but it is.
You see the water boiling and the steam being
Steam.
created. Oh, it's so cool.
Yeah, so if he whips the ground around him, he'll get, sometimes you can get dirt on one arm and water on the other, but it's the kind of thing like we really, as effects artists, we're always trying to push and we're always trying to like go beyond just like, you know, the standard of what, I mean, we're really worried about communication and gameplay and making sure that the player knows what's going on and
Right.
they can receive the information that they need to play the game, but then what can we do beyond that to like really bring the world to life, bring the character to life in addition. So
That's really awesome. There's one more. It's like a thin where it's like almost like a Spider-Man web sling for animation. This is really.
Sorry.
It's okay.
1 second.
So this is going to be another video from Chris that's basically showing how the chain was going to feed out.
Right.
Right.
So that's just like a proto sort of animation that he threw in, but the chain, just showing how it could spool up so much chain inside of his arm
Right.
and then hide it. It sounds like it's not that hard, but there's like
yes,
17.5 meters, I think, of
Yes.
chain in real world units.
yes.
And just to bundle all that up inside of his arm is actually not that easy. So Chris, I think Jordan
Yep.
Walker came up with this idea to just mask it out in the material, and it's something we've never done. And to be honest, I was a little bit like, I don't know about this, guys, like trying something new on this one. But,
Yep.
but yeah, it all worked out great in the end.
That's
There's a lot
when
of-
we were swimming in that deep water.
Right. There were a lot of meetings we went in, and the chain was like sticking 20 meters out of the back of his arm, and I was like, "Yeah, I told you guys this wasn't gonna work." We should have done
Just like
this.
imagine a state where he's carrying extra chain and just like just in his arms.
Arms,
Like, I need to use this.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well.
We got that one picture of Chris. Just
Oh yeah.
he's
I'm
got
so
a
impressed.
super cool lunchbox.
Oh.
Well, I call it a lunchbox. It's actually a bag, but yeah, this is how into
Chris Evans.
Richter
Chris
he
Evans.
was. Like he's got his own Richter lunch bags
bag.
there, along
That's
with
great.
a bunch of top secret stuff we had to blur out
And
in
the
the
backstory,
background. Like
the backstory behind this was, it was like a couple days when those chains were really broken, and I was all over him for a couple days. And he made empanadas one night and brought them into everywhere. And he drew Richter on all the lunch bags, and I was like, "Oh, it's forgiven.
It's good. It's good. Yeah.
Empanadas."
All right. Well. Yeah.
Well,
that's-
now I know what to get you when.
That's
Yes.
right.
yes,
Empanadas.
Yes, empanadas. All right. I really appreciate you guys coming up, talking about the effects. It's really awesome. Hope you guys really enjoyed that. Richter, like I said, guys, that when I saw that video
Yeah.
of everything coming together,
Yeah,
that
that
was
was-
just amazing.
yeah. This
Amazing.
guy was a true team effort.
Yeah, he was. He's super collaborative.
Every discipline.
Yeah.
So.
So it's really awesome. But thank you guys.
Awesome.
Really
Thank you,
appreciate
guys.
it. Well, we'll have up Kirsten and Mark next, and hopefully we'll have you guys on again.
Sounds good.
Thanks, guys.
See you soon.
Hello. Totally. All right. How was that?
I'm sorry.
You got your origin story.
I did.
There you
There
go.
was a
Finally.
little bit of lore in there.
Yeah.
Herman
Herman
surprised
dropping
us.
knowledge.
Dropped the knowledge. I told you
Classic
guys,
The one.
You know, we get a lot of questions about lore.
Yeah.
And right, and so we try to piece together bits and
And it,
pieces
and it
here
just
and
happens
there.
organically.
I think
like,
so far
through the
people know that
process.
Gideon is an evil guy. Twin Blast and Gadget had a thing at one point. They were together, and now we know the origin of the two.
Well,
He was a prison guard for
No, I'm
Richter.
sad there's no number 1 to go with him.
Maybe there is a number one, and we don't know who the number
well,
one is.
maybe, but like, I'm glad I know where the 2 comes from, though. Finally.
So, Mud and Chippewa, both fantastic community members.
Yes.
Mud, she was our very first person, and we're gonna do more of this. But you were the very first stream that we decided we were going to raid.
What?
So it was very funny. It's a funny story. I come into the first off, Will Kinsler, who's the other community manager. He sends me a link. We're looking at some people to potentially raid. He sends me her Twitch stream, and he's like, "Hey, just go ahead and check her out for a little bit." So I hopped into her stream,
I
and
didn't know
I'm
who
just
you were.
typing messages, asking questions and whatnot.
Being super suspicious.
Yeah, super. Like, and I can't remember exactly what I said. Yeah, I was like, hey,
do you like the game? Like, yeah.
It's like interview questions.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, it's.
What do you
Well,
think
actually,
about
Who's
people
your
ask me it all the time.
Yeah,
So it's normal.
It's super normal,
Yeah.
right? So it's just being like a normal,
Act natural.
normal
Yeah.
Twitch viewer.
And you didn't recognize him at first, right?
No, I knew I saw the name somewhere, but at the same time, I was like, I really
It's like, why
have
is that
never
name
seen you
familiar?
here, so I don't know who you are.
Yeah, so I mean, I lurk every now and again, and I'll be in people's chats. Sometimes I get called out when I'm lurking because I'm just trying to watch. But it's super funny because I think at the end I ended up saying something like, "Hey, so I'm sorry we're about to do this to you, but we wanted to basically raid your
You're like, hey,
chat."
I'm gonna tweet you out, and I was like, oh, cool. You're
Cool.
like, yeah, you're gonna get raided. I'm like, ah, damn it.
Yeah, and she's like, "Wait, raid it?" I'm like, "Yeah." And she's
In a
like,
good
"Oh,
way.
yeah,
Well,
right."
I've
And
been
then
raided in a bad way,
Right.
so
Right.
it was bad.
But then
I was
out of
pretty
nowhere,
lost.
it was like tons of Epic employees
Right.
just rolling up in the chat. And I like saw people that I knew were like upstairs, like rolling in the chat, and then
Like,
just
oh,
like
gosh.
spamming chat, like, "Oh, raid!" Just like,
Yeah, so I mean,
I'm
one
like,
of,
hello.
one of the things that we're trying to do is really be empowering for the community. Like we've had several community events. We bring people out to the studio. Both you guys are new. You haven't been at the community event. First time at the studio for both of you. And what we're trying to accomplish is making a community where we help support what you're trying to do. If you want to be, if you want to be an artist, for example, when we had Marlo Ethos out here, he's a game dev, right? So we brought him out. He does video stuff. He got to sit with our video team. He got to create a video. And then we went and talked to Engine with him because he's making a game in Unreal Engine. So whatever we can possibly do to help out community members is what we're trying to do. And so we want to do more of the Twitch raids, but we had to bring on this first Twitch raid we've ever
I
done.
didn't even know that.
And it was amazing.
No,
So
it was the first one.
Yeah.
I went and I shouldn't have. Don't tell my job.
So basically, when we do those, what we want to do is have a lot of Epic staff actually in there answering questions for people that come by and stuff. And so it's really cool to have you out. And then Chip, we wanted to bring you out because you've been tournament winner, right? We've watched a lot of your streams. You've been on the forums for a really long time, providing feedback and stuff. I remember like one of your very first posts.
Is it raging?
No, it wasn't raging. You're just giving feedback, and you're like, hey, I also stream and stuff. And so, I mean, you were legitimately trying to help some people in there that had questions, having like back and forth discussion. And I was like, I'm gonna watch this guy. And then you turn out, Triangle Formation, Agora Rising, and I was like, oh man, not only does he give great feedback, but he's also a great tournament player. So I was like, oh.
Yeah,
Hey,
the
win-win.
first time I ended up in his stream was after our first dev stream, or one of our first the early access stuff started.
Yeah.
Everybody's streaming day one. Everybody's having a ton of fun, and I see this stream that says #ShaveMooney, and I was like, all right.
Call it out, Mooney, right off
I
the
was like,
bat.
all right. So I hopped in the chat. I was like, all right, let's see what this casual's all about. So I'm sitting in chat, and then I start talking to him in chat. I'm just like, hey man, what's up? And I think at first you didn't.
Is that the real Mooney?
Yeah. Yeah,
No epic tag, nothing
right,
like that.
I was just hanging out in chat. I'm just like, it's not gonna happen. And I was just asking him to come at me with his full team. I was like, find 5 and we'll play. So now I have to follow through. So
it's happening.
Yeah, we'll make it happen.
All right.
We'll exchange IDs and then
Yeah,
it'll happen.
I'll make it easy on you and play Kalari.
Well,
The
I mean,
gauntlet
that's.
was
I mean, I'm just gonna play Richter, and I'm gonna pull you all the way to your death several times. It's gonna keep happening.
I like that.
It's gonna be great. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
You can be on
Remember
my
what
team.
happened last time? For those of you that don't know, the last time this man said some things that he shouldn't have said on stream. He had to shave his head because he ended up losing.
That's what it
So,
was all about.
Mooney,
Well-
you had lost your superpowers once.
Yeah. I'm slowly regaining power. I'm cultivating power with my hair.
Don't do it. Don't make the same mistake.
I'm not gonna
Okay.
make the same mistake.
Did you shave the head or do you shave the beard as well?
No, that's
Because we
not-
talked about this before.
No.
So we do this again.
Both.
Both? Both or one?
Well, I mean, even the beard alone is probably more like useful to you than the hair.
Yeah,
I don't
let's
know
just-
I don't know what this next thing is gonna be, but you need to be careful.
Yeah,
keep
I
it
do.
low,
I do need to
David.
be careful
You
when I
need
sign
to
this
be
up.
careful. You need to be careful.
We'll
So-
discuss the terms and conditions.
Yeah. So, big question for both of you. Starting with Kirsten, what kind of got you into MOBA? What made you want to play Paragon?
With the MOBA genre in general, or just
MOBAs,
Paragon?
MOBAs in general, and then Paragon.
Well, MOBAs in general, I was introduced to League through like people online
Right.
and whatever, and so I got hooked into that game. But as time progressed, I tried different ones, and what really hooked me on this one was like the graphics. I really like how games look. I feel like that draws me in first,
Mhm.
and then after that, I was like, well, you got this cool mage guy that looks like
Gideon
Jace
Main.
from
Gideon Main over here.
yeah, Gideon Main. It looks like Jace from MTG, and I'm like, oh no. And his name's Gideon, which is like another person in MTG. It's like, I was like, I see what you did there. And then after that, I liked the game. It's like really nice.
Okay.
And after my last MOBA I was hooked on died because of EA, you know. I needed something new.
Okay. Okay.
So drew me in.
All right. What about you, Mark?
I've always liked MOBAs. I mean, I'm going back to like Aeon of Strife on StarCraft, which I'm pretty sure is the first time that even concept came out, where it was basically like co-op versus AI even on a StarCraft used map setting.
Right.
And like I followed it from then. So like I've always been a fan of the MOBAs genre and all that kind of stuff. And then when you start throwing the FPS elements in it as well, and it just looks so beautiful, and like everything just came together to make me like, oh, I gotta try this. At least try it, right?
Right.
And for example, like for some reason, Smite never did it for me. I didn't even like give it a good fair shot. Then I look at Paragon, I'm like, no, like this is calling to me, and that says a lot. I mean, just there alone, and I've been just pleasantly surprised along the way, and just now I get sneak peeks that we can't even talk about, and just even more hyped about it, right? But yeah, like I don't remember the first time I saw Paragon itself, but I do remember that I got hooked pretty quickly with like the new content being shown and this and that, and confusion about like. Remember, you guys had the teaser on the site. You get to pick your heroes, pick your power up. I'm like, what are these? And I'm like, looking at each one, like.
Yeah. There's a lot of speculation on what type of game we were making.
Yeah.
I remember that. It was fun times. We told you guys a story about that. So, you know, we know Kirsten, Gideon Main. What I would say hero roles, what kind of draws you into a specific hero in a game, especially in ours? What do you guys kind of drawn to?
Well, I personally just like mages in like any game, like whether it's if I try like an MMO or try a new MOBA, I usually try to look for any sort of mage because I like the ranged part. I'm really bad at like melee characters. It just never ends well, so I like just to stay back. And then I find like supports that also have really good range come naturally, because they're also more caster-ish.
Okay.
So it's more like the mage side of it. So if it was like a tank support, I probably wouldn't play them.
We were gonna get to play Richter for the first time.
Yeah, I know.
We're gonna test the
It's fun.
boundaries.
Different.
I love how you guys keep saying that too. It's beautiful.
He's different.
And then
I'm probably gonna die.
What about you?
Me, I like min-max my life, live optimally. So when it comes to Paragon, I generally don't play support roles and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But when it came to Paragon, I started maining like Rampage and Steel and all those characters. And that's simply, it came down to almost necessity of like, again, trying to min-max the team comp in the game. Because everybody wants to be a carry to begin with, and in this game it was, especially before the crit patch, it was very crit-centric.
Right.
So Ranger-centric, and there's, by design almost, a low amount of like CC and hard CC in the game, like stuns, all that kind of stuff. They're there, but it's really like, okay, the supports have them, this, that. So when it came down to it, if I'm like, okay, I'm going to go solo queue, I want to just immediately get to diamond as fast as I can, that kind of stuff, like in my mind, I'm like, okay, there's gonna be rangers. The way to win this is to grab like a support with a stun, because that's like the highest value, and that's why I would be taking Rampage and Steel and work like that. And then when it got into the competitive scene, like it just kept following through like that.
Okay.
And now I'm playing Kalari and raging. But go on.
We will continue to have hero balance passes throughout the lifespan of the game. So, you know, all of the heroes will kind of continue to get love. So, in terms of streaming, I want to talk a little bit about that for, you know, you guys have to head out, and maybe we can squeeze in a couple questions. What kind of got you guys into streaming?
I mean, I've like just found it one day and I was like, I needed to do it. I was like, yes, this is totally awesome. I'm making a channel. I looked up all the research I could about like how to set my channel up, how to get alerts, everything, and I was like, yes, I'm gonna do this.
What about you, Mark?
Well, originally when I had like made my stream account, I think I technically made it back in like the Justin TV days, and that was just weird times. But yeah, like at first it was like some of my friends were like, oh, like I'm eating lunch on a break, like can I just like watch you play? So I just like turn on the stream and it'd be like a League of Legends stream. That didn't go anywhere, because I mean, if you have no viewers watching or playing League of Legends, it's gonna be rough. But then eventually I got into Evolve, but but basically I got into that, and I was in a lot of like the open beta stuff. I loved the game; it was great. I was like so obsessed with it. And while I was playing it in like a lot of the more exclusive things, I was like, oh, we'll turn on the stream, and it built up from there. And then I went in the Evolve tournaments, and it just exploded pretty much. And I just really got into it. Like, I really like having a community, because I'd be playing the games either way. I'm obsessed with the games. I'd be playing either way, and it's just nice to have, let's say, an audience there and a community. So one thing, you make this amazing play, and you're like, you guys saw that.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, it's like nice little community interaction and everything there. So it gets to the point where sometimes like I don't stream for like a few days, like I miss a stream or something. I feel bad because I'm like, no, I want to see the people.
Right.
Yeah.
Just like hanging out with a bunch of people while you
Exactly.
play a game.
Exactly.
It's really nice.
It's a giant LAN party.
Totally done that play thing though. I was like, did you guys see that?
Yeah.
Did you guys see it? Like...
Those are the few times I've streamed just so I can make big plays and be like, I have this on, this is
And then
proof.
you make the
Yeah.
highlight.
People know that this happened.
Yeah, and then it goes the other way too. Giant fails.
Yeah.
Like I know I put a highlight up at one point. Like it was when I was starting to play, and I was full raid mode solo queue, and we took the, I'm gonna get the terms right, 'cause we're on the Epic live stream, so I'm not gonna call it by other games, the OP buff, because I'm really bad with names. So we took the OP buff, and we were behind, and like I just like spam the team, go defend. I'm gonna run the buff in myself on Rampage, and it's like super clutch. And along the way, people try to stop me, and I jump away. Someone tries to stop me again, jump away. The Murdoch ult, I dodge it, and I jump up to where the drop buff point is, and I like land on it. I yell touchdown, and and then they come in and run to kill me, and then I realized that I had missed the pad. I jumped over the pad and landed past it, and like Rampage's front feet touched it, but like I didn't drop it, and I think I'd even pressed like B at one point, thinking, oh, I'll just like go out, and I completely died. They got the orb, they put it in, and we lost.
Yes.
So like that's just like a full highlight now,
Yes.
because the chat are going crazy of like, oh my god, because it's just so epic. Dodge everything, gonna like make a comeback, touchdown. I'm bragging and everything, and then.
Did your chat like warn you? Like, dude, you're not on it.
Not on it.
No, well, there's no time for that, because like they were on me the whole way. So
Delay.
I missed the thing. I hit B, and they were like, yeah. And then like I think I noticed that the orb was on the ground. I'm like, oh, like run to it, get it, but it was over. It was bad.
Wow.
So yeah, you have both ways, the
Yeah,
good
of
and the
course,
bad.
Yeah, for sure. So before you guys head out, you guys have any questions for us?
Okay, so somebody asked, where do you get your shirt from? Because they wanted to know.
This one?
Yeah, that one. They really like it, I guess.
I don't remember where I got this shirt from. It was I think my fiance bought this for me.
All right. Next one, somebody wanted to know if you guys were interested in doing a night and day cycle in the game. So like it would help with like just to like have things only happen at certain times, day or night, and at the same time we were talking about it, and you could use
that's
it.
an indicator.
Yeah, use it like, oh, like when the sun sets, like this buff will be up,
Well,
or like.
You had that
So,
on
sure,
AMA
yeah,
with
so
Jordan,
we-
you
yeah,
might
so we
answer
had
that
it-
one.
So on the AMA, I think people were asking about like weather cycles and
Oh,
day cycles
okay.
and stuff. They asked Jordan Walker, our lead artist, and he kind of talked about how they throw around ideas like that constantly, like back and forth at work, and like they obviously see it on the forums and on Reddit. And I think the idea behind it is that they see the possibility for that, but they really we want to work on optimizing Agora like right now and get to the point where they're really comfortable with the map. Like we're always adding stuff, and that's really locking in Agora at this point is the priority. But all that stuff is even the artists are pining to like
Right.
Yeah, because
dive into that.
I know if you guys are like fairly big on visual cues. Like the latest update, you see that when you spawn and it's like look out, right? You say, oh, hey, look, there's some blue flowers in these trees
I
and the red
noticed
flowers
that.
in these trees
I
for the
loved
blue
it.
buff side and the red buff side.
Right.
Like visual cues like that, they're subtle, but they're really strong. And part of the timing in the game, again, we were discussing this earlier, but there's two critical, well, technically three, but the two big critical times in the game is like the 6 minutes where I need to use a different term here, where the side harvesters open up. I gotta be politically correct here. So yeah, the side harvesters open up at 6 minutes, and the black buff spawns. And then I believe at 9 minutes, the OP buff spawns,
Harvester.
and the
Yeah,
other
the
one opens
harvester,
up as
yeah.
well. And a day-night cycle like that could easily help there. So if you're seeing like a 6 minute day and a 3 minute night or something like that, well, okay, as soon as it gets dark, those opened up, the
Right.
black buff. As soon as it gets the first morning, okay, the other ones. And like, that could really work in with these visual cues while, it doesn't have to be like the biggest day night.
Right.
Right.
No, and I think that's always like stuff we're excited because they play the game too. We all like playing it. Like Cam said earlier, he said I could quote him. I like video games. So people here
Right.
like video
Like-
games.
I'm glad.
So Mark, question: What are you thinking?
Yeah, so the new character, and again, this is another one from Twitter. How many chains does he have? Just to be sure.
How many chains?
How many chains?
Yeah, I think we have
Is
to,
it
we have
more
to
than
count
two?
it.
More than 2
Is it more than 2?
I mean, I don't actually know the answer to that question.
Yeah, I
That
So-
would
so
be a-
we-
tentacles
We
count?
can't just say that he has 2 chains.
I mean, I can't.
No.
I don't know.
He's
Chains?
different than that.
It's maybe.
So, I know how long. Like Ray, when he was up here, he talked about how long the chains are. 17 and a half
So long.
meters.
Yeah.
That's
So,
really long.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But
So
I mean, technically, in his belly, he has quite a few as well, which are independent. There's like
yeah, there's like
however many chains in there.
right. So
It's a lot. I don't know what the exact count is, but it's more than 2.
Oh, okay.
It is more than 2.
I think. Wait, did you have any more questions?
Well, again, there's still like the whole like what can we talk about aspects, right? So like, would you be willing to talk about at least team compositions, how you would like them to go? Because right now it is very ranger centric, right? And again, we've talked about this as well, so I'm not really sure like what we can talk about in that regard. But right now, again, from my opinion, my view, team comps, especially in the competitive scene, have really been like, okay, here's the rangers, aka the ADCs, but again, it's like energy and physical rangers, range damage, and then people supporting them.
Right.
And that really is the team comp. In the competitive scene, even if you saw like a Gideon, it was a support Gideon.
Right.
It was a Gideon to like, oh, they Decker ulted us, Gideon ports out, and everyone jumps in the Gideon portal. It's like, support Gideon. Do you guys envision switching that up to a more like almost rock paper scissory with mages popping, like how do you
So
how would you like to counter the rangers
just
basically?
answering this very general, because this is something that Kevin Abbott kind of talked to on the AMA. We had a very similar question. We want roles to be well defined. I think that his exact quote was something along the lines of, I'm paraphrasing, but he talked about Rangers being strong, and that's not our intention. They kind of did a little bit of everything, right? And so we want to very clearly define roles for players so that they understand if I pick a steal, I should be doing this, or I should follow these parameters. If I pick a jungler, I should be following these parameters. If I pick a ADC, I should be following these parameters. Part of our goals are to make sure that players can understand when they pick a hero, either visually or after they played a bit, understand how they should build their hero and understand how they should play them in terms of roles. So to answer your question very broadly, yes, that is important to us, and we want to make sure that we have a healthy gameplay meta, so to speak, when people come into our game and play. So.
And feedback's a huge part of that. So like hearing what people have to say about like the current state of things, how they feel, team comps line up, and feedback just like that. It's important in the process for us to know like how the players are playing it versus how we're playing it.
Yeah.
Because those could be completely different things.
So not to go too much longer, we got to get these guys
we gotta
over
get
there.
them out of there.
So appreciate you guys being on. We will be by to talk to you guys on your streams a little bit, but you guys will be with CompQA. They are waiting for you guys right now. So Tori's going to take you guys over, and then we will host up
Some Richter games.
Kirsten, and then we're going to host you next.
Sounds good.
Mark.
Okay.
So
Nice. Thanks for coming, guys.
yeah,
Thanks for having
Yes.
us.
be sure to answer more questions.
We'll try.
All right, you guys.
Yeah,
Yep.
you're good.
Are we?
All right, we're good.